Hello, Bunners. Good afternoon.
G'day, Bunbury.
Today I'm here with Michael Finn, one of the candidates for Bunbury City Council elections. So, how are you today?
Well, it's been a busy day and it's not going to end for a little while yet. So,
I think he's a very busy man. So, my first question is, what motivated you to run for council this year?
Okay, well, I've got a background of giving a lot back to my professional bodies. I'm a nurse by trade, and in recent years, after I retired, I opened a business down here in Bunbury, and I also, at the same time, worked with the university sector and with the disability sector, and then we recently closed the business, and so I decided I had time on my hands. I may as well give back to the community.
Good answer. So, my question is, what do you do at Enable Southwest and Advocacy Southwest?
Okay. At Enable Southwest, I've been previously involved in the Disability Services Commission project, looking at restrictive practices in the disability sector and looking to reduce and eliminate those. My background is mental health, so an opportunity came up for me to look at issues as they related to mental health disability. The Board of Management at Enable decided it was worthwhile to progress a project with that. My background includes quality assurance and risk assessment and evaluations, and so the issues that we were identifying in disability showed that we needed to improve our quality assurance approach, our quality improvement approach, and it was just fortuitous that I was available and the stars aligned.
Excellent. So, you obviously have a passion for health.
40 years in the health sector, yeah, but it's been very mixed. I've always had opportunities, and it's about taking the opportunities when they arise. And my background, whilst it's been predominantly nursing, I've also been involved in health promotion, education, hospital management, public sector, private sector.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you a question about small business.
Yep.
Because I've noticed over the years in Bunbury that small business seems to pop up and then they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, what did you learn from your experience as a small business owner, and how important is small business to Bunbury?
Well, across Australia, small business is the largest employer of people. And it's the enterprise of small businessmen who really the pulse of the community, I believe. And if small business is struggling, that's an indication that perhaps the community is not healthy too. I operated a business here in Bunbury for 4 years, a bit over 4 years actually, and during that time I saw probably a dozen or more businesses come and go. In my case, we were unable to secure a lease for the premises, otherwise we'd still be trading. So that also was an issue of concern for me, that landlords are insensitive to small business, because I know a number of businesses folded because of the really unrealistic expectations of the landlord in terms of lease and the other charges that occur with small business around things like council charges, rates and so on. These are all prohibitive factors to business.
Okay. So working at your pizza place, I'm sure you had a chance to talk to a lot of your constituents. Did you find any important issues they brought up to you, and is that why you think you can do something as well? Certainly,
engaging in dialogue with people as they were coming into the shop gave me a bit of an awareness of some of the community sentiment on certain issues. The big issues for the community aren't the big issues for council. The community's more interested in the day-to-day issues that affect quality of life. Sure, there's lots of important things that council also address, but things like the safety on the streets, basic things like waste collection.
Yeah.
The idea that you can have your general waste picked up every fortnight is just not realistic to a family where they've got things, for example, nappies.
That's what I've got. And it stinks.
Yeah, it's just unrealistic. I did a survey just recently. I just hopped in the car, drove around several streets and counted the number of rubbish bins that were sitting out there. 141 rubbish bins, 103 of them were general waste, This was on the green waste collection day,
So they're hoping.
and there were 32 green waste rubbish bins sitting out. So,
Okay.
so 23% of the rubbish bins were the ones that were supposed to be there,
Yep.
yet they were outnumbered by 4 to 1 for the general waste, which shows that council haven't heard, and perhaps they need to have a rethink. Simply recycling or rescheduling the days for collection would be sufficient.
Okay.
Council's idea, though, is that they will train the public. The public are saying no.
It's a nice idea, but the nappies will fill it up regardless of your training.
Well, when you look at the 2013-2014 council report on waste collection services, 800 and odd tonnes of green waste were disposed of. I think it was 10,000 tonnes of general waste which was disposed of. Now, from a council perspective, there's costs attached to this.
Yeah.
And so this is obviously a cost-driven issue, but it's also one that council needs to listen to when it comes to what the needs of the community are. And frankly, council had a surplus at the end of last year. They've had an operating surplus several years, and projecting an operating surplus this year.
So is that no debt? Our
Well, they're
council has
carrying
money.
debt as well.
Oh, okay.
They're carrying debt that they must service, but they are also operating with a surplus.
Okay. So this is the type of speak that normal people wouldn't understand. Like what's an operating? What do you mean by operating service?
Well, the cost to firstly, council generates revenue. Council rates and other costs or other
Parking.
are things that fill the coffers, and then there are expenses. So the expenses, if they're balanced out against the income, you never want to go into deficit. You never want to be in debt. Nobody wants to be in debt. But the council actually has an operating surplus. That is, they earn more than they actually spend.
Okay.
Now, they do also carry debt, and they service
so
that
they're
debt.
paying it off.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay. So they're not in the red.
They're not in the red.
Yes. Okay. So I guess my last question is for you. What do you love about Bunbury?
What do I love about
Actually,
Bunbury?
there's two parts to this question. What do you love about Bunbury, and what will make you a good counsellor?
Well, what do I love about Bunbury? I moved to Bunbury 5 years ago, predominantly to be with my family.
So it's a
My
family
wife
man.
and I, after I retired, decided we didn't like to drive up and down the highway too much. And so we looked around to move to Bunbury. My daughter identified a business for sale, and so that's how we got into the pizza making business. I think I'm the most highly qualified pizza maker in Australia. What do I like about Bunbury? I like the fact that you can walk down the street and see people that you know. You can walk into shops, you can walk into the bank, and you can be on first name terms with people. So Bunbury's an intimate city still. It's not lost that sense of community. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I hope that the community has got some life and vigour, and it will grow and give opportunity to my grandchildren.
Yeah. And what will make you a good counsellor?
I can talk the leg off a chair.
I know.
I can read prolifically.
Yep.
And
Can you listen?
I can listen.
I assume you can listen being in the mental health industry, definitely. So
Well, I've been around for a while
Yeah.
doing that sort of work. But no, I believe that a well-informed approach to the business of council is important. I know from reading the minutes of the meetings and the agenda items that occur, there's an enormous amount of work in terms of pre-reading.
Yep.
So going into a meeting informed is important, so that you're not wasting the time of council and the councillors. And yes, the council is looking to reduce the size of council. I don't subscribe to that.
Me neither.
The fact that you could have decisions made by a handful of people is something of concern.
And I think it would create a little bit of bullying. And,
Well,
and
there's always
tactics
potential for
and-
that in small groups.
So yeah, I think 12 would be better. But that's your turn to vote on the referendum, people.
Don't
Your
forget the
choice.
referendum paper.
No,
it is
that's
in there.
important, isn't it?
And open the full ballot paper, because I've already had
It's down the bottom.
an elector point out to me that when you open the ballot papers, you might not realise that it actually folds out completely.
Ah, yes. There's 18 candidates, okay, and Mr. Michael Finn is actually on the bottom. Is that correct?
That's
You're
right, I've got
the
plum
bottom
spot,
man.
yeah? plum spot. Go to the bottom first.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us.
No, thank you, Adele.
Beautiful man, and thank you, Bunners. See ya.
Cheers. Bye-bye.